U.S. scrambles 8 fighter jets to intercept Russian military aircraft in Arctic. The North American Aerospace Defense Command, NORAD, announced that earlier this week, multiple Russian military aircraft were detected near North America, but did not violate U.S. or Canadian airspace. The Russian aircraft remained in international airspace and did not enter the Alaskan or Canadian air defense identification zones. Russian forces' activities are routine and are not considered a threat, NORAD said in a statement. According to the agency, 8 military aircraft were dispatched by NORAD to monitor the Russian aircraft. Of these, 2 CF-18 fighter jets were deployed to patrol northern Canada while 2 F-35 jets were dispatched from Alaska to monitor the coast near the Yukon border. In addition, 3 KC-135 aerial refueling aircraft and an airborne early warning and control aircraft were also ordered to take off. Hours later, NORAD said it had dispatched 2 F-16 fighter jets from Alaska to Greenland to enhance NORAD's presence in the Arctic, and that the move was not in response to any threat. The US and Canadian fighter jets were dispatched just weeks after 4 Russian fighter jets were shadowed by NORAD aircraft while flying near Alaska. Latest on which world leader will President Trump meet with first after his inauguration? Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will be the first world leader to meet with US President Donald Trump since Trump took office on January 20. CNN reported. The Israeli Prime Minister's office announced on February 1 that Netanyahu will meet with President Trump in Washington, D.C. on February 4. The two leaders are expected to discuss issues in the Gaza Strip, including negotiations for the release of Hamas hostages, as well as the challenges posed by all elements of the Iran axis and other key issues. In a break from tradition, President Trump has invited a number of world leaders to his inauguration in Washington, including Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. However, President Trump has not had any formal meetings with world leaders since January 20. The news of the visit to the US and the meeting between Netanyahu and Trump came just hours after Israel and Hamas exchanged hostages and prisoners as part of a Gaza ceasefire. The outcome of the meeting between the two leaders could have a major impact on the negotiations for the next stages of the Gaza ceasefire, which are scheduled to take place next week in Egypt. President Trump recently suggested that he plans to clear Gaza by moving hundreds of thousands of Palestinians there to neighboring countries, an idea that was strongly rejected by key Arab countries on February 1. The Democratic Party has a new leader after a crushing defeat to Trump and the Republicans. On February 1, the Democrats chose Ken Martin as chairman of the Democratic National Committee, DNC, tasked with rebuilding a party still reeling from last year's presidential election defeat and finding a way to deal with US President Donald Trump. According to AFP news agency, Martin, who spent 14 years leading the Democratic Farmer Labor Party in Minnesota, and 8 years as vice chairman of the DNC, has emerged as a leading candidate in the race thanks to his long-standing relationships with state party leaders. The Democratic Party is the party of working people, and it's time for us to roll up our sleeves and compete everywhere, in every election and at every level of government, he said. The 51-year-old progressive activist, who is relatively unknown outside the party, has emphasized the need to reconnect Democrats with working voters and take the election fight to all 50 states, even conservative strongholds. Today's election marks a new chapter in the leadership of the DNC. And Donald Trump and his billionaire allies have been warned. We will hold them accountable for ripping off working families. And we will defeat them at the ballot box, Martin stressed. Without a Democratic president in the White House, the party's leadership will be divided for the next 4 years, according to CNN, and with Democrats in the minority in both the House and Senate. Much of the party's focus will be aimed at blocking President Trump's agenda rather than advancing the party's policy priorities. In addition to fundraising and messaging, Martin will also help shape the 2028 nomination process and create a campaign to nominate the eventual Democratic nominee for president in 2028. The new Democratic leader will also need to unite the committee and address a number of internal issues, including demands for greater transparency about budgets and spending, and frustrations with campaign advisors.